What is up, guys? Welcome to another video on my channel HAIRLICIOUSLY. If you guys are new to this channel, please make sure to subscribe. I will be talking about a lot of informative topics pertaining to hair loss and hair transplants and any upcoming hair loss treatments that are currently in the pipeline. If you guys are also looking to get a hair transplant, if you guys don't know exactly which doctor to go with, recently I have published my ebook on the top 25 hair transplant doctors all over the world. And so please make sure to check that out in the links below. A lot of you guys have been asking me exactly what the book entails. And so I kind of wanted to dive into the topic of the ebook before I proceed with today's video. So the ebook, I pretty much comprise the top 25 doctors, in my opinion, based on their expertise and the results that I've seen, and also from various responses from the patients who've actually had the transplants done by the doctors and the technicians. I've been going through a lot of different forums, especially the top hair loss forums, trying to look at people's feedbacks and what the patients were saying, before and after the procedure, and also looking at various videos and photographs. And so these doctors are verified, and these doctors are one of the most well-known doctors in the hair transplant industry. So there's no doubt that these doctors, whoever you guys go with, will give you guys good results. Now, as far as the book, it's going to cover different types of costs, different types of methods the doctors use, whether it be FUE or FUT, DHI, or if they're trying to use body hair transplants. I also go over different types of memberships the doctors currently hold, and also, how much the doctor and the technicians actually conduct the work. If you guys go to different countries, different foreign countries, and also even in a lot of the clinics, even the US, there's a lot of doctors who actually don't do a lot of the work as far as the extractions and the slits. Any type of surgical procedure in the US has to be done by a doctor. But if you guys go to, places like Turkey or Korea, there's a lot of doctors who don't do all of the work. The fact is that, you guys have more assurance knowing that the doctor actually does the work. And instead of having technicians, well-trained technicians can do a good job, but then again, you also want to stick with the doctor who does the majority of the work and oversees the whole procedure. So I talk about that. I talk about, how much the doctor actually does the extractions versus the slits versus the implanting. And the thing is, there's always going to be good and bad reviews on any doctor that you go to. It doesn't matter whether you go to a doctor in the US or in a foreign country. Doctors, they're going to have both good and bad results. It depends. It might be because of the patient, or it might be because of the lack of craftsmanship of the doctor and the technicians. But in this ebook, I covered doctors who actually have had consistent results. Whoever you choose from the ebook, whoever doctor that you choose from this ebook, I think you would get good results. So for today's topic, I wanted to talk about one of the best hair transplant doctors in India, because a lot of you guys have been going to India to get a hair transplant. I know a lot of you guys have been going to Turkey, but whatever your preferences are, whatever locations, I know some people don't want to travel to a certain country, or because of the costs or whatever, the language barrier, a lot of people choose to go to designated countries. And so we know that there's a high increase, there's a rising cost when it comes to healthcare in the US. And a lot of people looking to get a hair transplant try to avoid getting one in the US, especially if they're kind of tight on money. And so if you guys go to places like India, it's a lot cheaper. Some places, charge as little as $1 to $1.50 per graft, versus in the US, we have clinics that might charge upwards of $7. I know one clinic that does a really good job in the US, but they charge $10 per graft for an FUE. So if you guys were to get a 2,000 graft FUE, that would literally cost well over $20,000, on top of taxes. And so based on research, hair transplant doctors or hair clinics in India are as affordable as 25% of the cost in the US. And so I think for those who are actually looking to go to India, would actually be a good alternative to other countries. So the clinic that I wanted to introduce is called Darling Buds Hair Transplant Center in Chandigarh, India. And it is actually easily one of the best performing hair transplant doctors in India. The clinic is run by a board certified surgeon named Dr. TEJINDER, and he is dedicated exclusively to hair transplants. This is important because there's a lot of people, a lot of doctors who are cosmetic surgeons. They do different types of cosmetic, procedures, breast implants, tummy tucks, whatever it is. But this doctor specifically focuses on hair transplants, and that's where all of his interest is in. He is dedicated to hair transplants since 2009, over 3,000 satisfied patients. If you guys do a search of this doctor on, some of the hair loss forums, he is actually one of the best performing doctors in India. and he has plenty of positive results from patients. There's plenty of before and after photos and videos on his website and also from these forums. And he is a great doctor who is very capable of creating a natural looking hairline. Now, he only performs 1 to 2 procedures a day, which assures a lot of people that he gives the maximum focus, just to one patient, 2 patients per day versus, just doing like multiple hair transplants in one setting by, utilizing all these technicians. He specializes in FUE. If you guys have scars, he also specializes in fixing your FUT scars, or if you guys had big FUE scars in the back of the donor zone, he can also fix that. He also does eyebrows and beard transplantation and also body hair transplants for those who are lacking hair on the scalp. He's also fluent in English, and so there's not going to be any language barriers. I know a lot of you guys are kind of worried about that, but this doctor is very fluent in English. And as far as some of his memberships, he is recommended by the International Society of Hair Restoration Surgeons, the Hair Transplant Network, International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons, the American Hair Loss Association, and a bunch of other hair transplant forums recommend this doctor in India. Now, the good thing about Dr. Body is that he extracts all of the grafts by himself from donor zone. Like I said, there's a lot of technicians in other parts of the country where the doctors actually do not extract all of the grafts. And this is very important because if the doctor doesn't specialize in the extraction, you would have to worry about transection, because a lot of the technicians who end up doing it, and also a lot of the doctors who are not really capable of doing a good job of extracting grafts in the back of the scalp, they, run into the issue of transection, where instead of pulling out all the roots and the hair follicles from the back of the scalp, the doctors end up cutting that. That's going to result in the grafts not surviving. So even if you implant it, it's not going to grow out. He also does the slits himself, and like any other doctor, that's what a hair transplant doctor should do. He should create the slits on the patient's scalp. Now, with the aid of several highly trained technicians, the grafts are implanted into the slits with the supervision of Dr. Body. He also does part of the implanting, but he does use technicians. Dr. Body also uses the motorized hairish blunt punch during the extraction phase, and typically ranges from 0.75 millimeters to 0.85 millimeters to allow for minimal scalp trauma. So a lot of doctors use upwards of 0.9 millimeters and higher, even upwards to 1.2 millimeters. And that's when a lot of the scars are going to be visible. If you guys find a doctor that can stay below 0.9 millimeters, the scars are going to be very minimal, and you guys are able to cut your hair really short and not be able to make the scar as noticeable as a higher punch. Using his patented state-of-the-art blend TM technology, it causes minimal trauma to existing hair roots, causing zero shock loss to existing hair. This is very important because a lot of people who undergo a hair transplant experience shock loss. It's not a pleasant experience because you lose a lot of the hairs in the native area, and a lot of times these people don't grow their hair back. So the doctor uses this technology where it causes minimal trauma in the surrounding native hairs. And then, you don't have to worry about any shock loss. So as far as density, we know that density is one of the most important things when it comes to a hair transplant. Obviously, people want their hairlines or whatever areas that they're getting the implants done to be very dense, or at least somewhat to the point where it's not going to be noticeable that this person is still thinning, or that, this person actually has had a hair transplant. So as far as density, Dr. Body can pack upwards to 55 grafts per centimeter squared, which is well more than enough, because anywhere from 45 and up would be pretty good as far as creating the illusion of a full set of hair. Now, he carefully uses digital technology magnification to be able to achieve such a high density. And in addition to the high density, he also claims to have FU transaction rates that average under 1% for Indians. So 1% is really good, or 1.7% for Caucasians, and then 7% for Africans, which make it one of the lowest transaction rates in the world. Now, I feel like as far as the African hairs, it's a little bit more curly, and so I think that's why there's a little bit of a higher transaction rate, but even then, it's still a very good transaction rate for not just African Americans, but also for Indians, Asians, and for Caucasians. So enough talking, and let's take a look at some of the results. As you guys can take a look here, this first case is a 28-year-old patient 8 months after his hair transplant. Note that there's a lot of the strong light on top of his head. A lot of doctors don't do this because they don't want to expose their work or their lack of work. But you guys can obviously see that there's really not a see-through effect, and this guy had 1,236 grafts via FUE. Case number 2 is a 35-year-old patient suffering from traction hair loss or alopecia. He underwent a strip procedure with poor growth 2 years before. He had 1621 scalp and 663 body grafts, which were used to the hairline and the temples. Results seen after 8 months of the procedure. Dr. Bhatti's clinic surgically restored the world's largest number of pattern traction and alopecia patients. Case number 3 is a 28-year-old patient who received over 3,000 scalp grafts for the hairline and the mid-scalp. Notice how natural the hairline looks, and it looks very full and dense. Case number 4 is a 32-year-old patient who received 2,000 scalp grafts for the hairline at another hair clinic a year before presenting surgery. He complained of poor density, and in this picture here, he had 1,260 scalp grafts that were planted. Here are the results at 1 year, and I think it just looks fantastic. And the last one is case number 5. He is a Caucasian male. The results seen here are after 9 months of the procedure. He was a Norwood 3, and he received 3,000 grafts via FUE. And I think that Dr. Bhatti did such a great job. Look at just how dense and natural looking the hairline is. The front of the hairline was reinforced with single grafts, and then in the back we have multi-grafts to make it look a lot more dense. So finally, costs. I know that money plays a big decision when it comes to choosing a hair transplant. So another great thing about Dr. Bhatti is the cost. He charges 89 Indian rupees per graft plus a 18% charge, which includes all the pickups, the drop-offs at the airport, all procedure costs, food, medication for 2 weeks. And so 89 Indian rupees is equivalent to about $1.28 USD per graft, which is extremely affordable compared to, the cost in the US. $3,000 or 3,000 graft via FUE would cost less than $3,900 USD. If you guys were to get something similar in the US, that would cost upwards to, like I said, $20,000, $25,000, even higher. And so he does offer occasional discounts depending on the season. And, for example, if somebody booked a procedure and then the person ended up canceling or rescheduling, if you were to be able to go to his clinic within a certain number of days and get the hair transplant done to fill in for that other person who canceled, he will even give you a further discount. So it's very capable that you might be able to get one for under $1 per graft, but you just have to reach out to Dr. Bhatti and see if there's any discounts or anything, as far as promotions going on. So in conclusion, I would highly recommend Dr. Bhatti for anyone who's looking to get a hair transplant, not just in India, but in other parts of the world who are open to traveling. Like I said, he does a great job of creating a natural looking hairline. His work is backed up by over thousands and thousands of people who's actually had very good results. He has low transaction rates. He has over, 10 years of hair transplant experience. He can produce high density and a natural looking hairline. So he can do everything that you need for a successful hair transplant, all for the fraction of the cost. Dr. Bhatti really cares about his patients. He does a good job with following up with them. If you guys watch a lot of his videos, he does a good job of explaining, everything from step 1 to the last step. He does a great job of providing aftercare service. He does an amazing job of, responding back to your emails. I've been reaching out to him back and forth just to kind of commend him for his work and just to kind of get some advice. If you guys are really interested in Dr. Bhatti, make sure to check out his website. It's going to be in the description box below. I'm going to have his link there. If you guys have any questions, please make sure to let me know. If you guys had a procedure with Dr. Bhatti, I really want to know what your results were and what your experience was. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.